The all-time high we saw a few days back was around $3.65, so we're hovering just beneath that mark now. At the moment I'm filming this, XRP is sitting at $3.55, but it's not just XRP that experienced a bit of a dip this afternoon. This pullback is more market-wide. That said, there's no reason to be alarmed. This sideways action isn't expected to stick around for long. In today's video, I'll be going over some fresh insights from multiple well-known XRP chart analysts. And the common thread among them? Optimism. There's growing conviction that XRP is on the verge of breaking out, not just testing new highs, but finally moving beyond $4 for the first time ever. Now, of course, corrections are still going to happen here and there, but the consensus is they'll likely be quick and not too deep. According to many chart watchers, we're nearing the final stretch of this current cycle. Some even believe there's a possibility the bull run could stretch well into late 2025 or maybe even into 2026. Still, the majority of technical experts I follow seem to think we're approaching the tail end of it now. Time will tell who's reading it right. I'm not in the business of making predictions or placing bets. That's not my thing. But if I had to go with my gut, based on past trends and technical indicators flashing right now, it does feel strikingly similar to the pre-parabolic moments we've seen before. We haven't quite hit that full-blown euphoric phase just yet, but it's close. The kind of explosive move where prices shoot up rapidly. That's what analysts are saying is right around the corner. We're entering the early stages of that phase. Quick reminder before we dig deeper. I am not a financial professional. None of this is financial advice. Please don't make any investment decisions based on what I say. I'm just someone who's passionate about crypto and enjoys sharing my thoughts here on YouTube, purely for fun. As I record this, it's currently 5:21 p.m. Central Time, Monday, July 21st, 2025. At the moment, Bitcoin is trading at $117,148. Here's a look at the 24-hour chart. It did hit a high of around $119,500 earlier before pulling back a bit. Now, looking at XRP's 24-hour chart, you can see it was climbing earlier, but just like Bitcoin, it's seen a slight drop in the past several hours. Pretty consistent with what we're seeing across other top crypto assets. So nothing unusual happening here? Again, these brief dips are expected and likely won't stick around for long. Just a quick note here. The S&P 500 wrapped up the day at 6,305, setting a brand new all-time high. At one point, it even peaked around 6,335. The reason I bring this up is because it's another signal of growing confidence across markets. Everything you typically expect to see as a bull run nears its peak is happening right now, and it's all lining up just the way you'd want it to. Historically, when you're heading into the final stretch of a bull cycle, several things tend to happen at once, and that's exactly what we're witnessing. If you've been following my recent updates, you'll know I've been pointing out these patterns for weeks, even months, and it's all unfolding in real time. Now, just to clarify, in case you're new to this idea and haven't heard me talk about it before, let me give you the quick version. When risk appetite grows, investors usually start pouring more money into the stock market. It doesn't just stay concentrated in large-cap stocks either. The market breadth widens, and you'll see capital flowing into smaller cap names. Think about indexes like the Russell 2000, and what tends to go hand in hand with that? Increased appetite for crypto. As liquidity expands and people, whether individuals, businesses, or institutions, look for places to park that extra capital, it inevitably moves further out on the risk spectrum. That includes altcoins. So when risk-on sentiment rises in equities, that same mindset spills over into crypto markets. That's why we often see out-season kickoff during these periods. And we are in one of those moments right now. Liquidity has been climbing all year, and that's a huge driver behind what we're seeing. Make no mistake, we're not at the end yet. There's more room to run, but at some point, the top will come. When we're close, the warning signs will show up. I'll be here talking about it, covering those signals when they start flashing red. But we're not there just yet. What we're seeing right now is what leads up to that final phase. Eventually, though, the music will stop. And when it does, you don't want to be the one still holding your bag when this thing reverses. Because I do believe we'll see the classic bubble behavior. Things inflate big time, then boom, they pop and prices come crashing back down. So just a heads up, be cautious with all this. But here's the thing. Historically, there are warning signs when it becomes riskier to keep holding than it is to sell. And when we start getting those signals, I'll definitely keep you posted. Now, check this out. Chart analyst Dolly Martinez recently shared that capital inflows into the crypto space have doubled in July, reaching $74.5 billion. That's right. You're seeing more money pour into the space at the exact same time. Global liquidity is on the rise. Totally unexpected, right? Not really. Raoul Pal, the ex-Goldman Sachs exec who founded Real Vision and global macro investor, along with his partner Julian Biddle, both predicted that if Bitcoin keeps tracking global M2 growth, we could expect to see fresh all-time highs this July. And here we are, a wave of capital flooding in across the board. No coincidence. You've got to love seeing this play out. Here's another chart, this one from Analyst Mustache, tracking the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, also called Total 3. According to Mustache, Total 3 has just bounced cleanly off a major 2-year trend line, and at the same time, it's broken through an 8-month-long downtrend. Translation? We're entering the beginning of a wild ride. And guess what? This happened in July, the same time we saw capital inflow spike. This isn't random. If you've been following along here, you already know I've been pointing to this moment for a long time. This is the fun part. Welcome to it. So don't get discouraged by minor dips along the way. They're going to happen. But this thing is gearing up to go full-on ridiculous. Here's another take, this one from Rect Capital, sharing a chart of Ethereum against the US dollar. He pointed out that Ethereum has now revisited the top of its macro range. That red zone on his chart, rallying more than 120% from a key historical demand zone marked in light blue. A few months ago, ETH was around $1,400. I said at the time that level wouldn't last. It was clearly oversold. Look, whether or not you personally believe in ETH's fundamentals doesn't really matter. The market had already accepted those fundamentals for years. And they didn't get worse, yet the price dropped anyway. What does that tell you? It wasn't about the fundamentals. It was about market sentiment and people panic selling. Same thing happened to XRP back in 2024. It got insanely undervalued, and those who saw the opportunity jumped in. Now, they're reaping the rewards. ETH recently hit $3,800, and I don't think it's done. Historically, when ETH makes moves like this, altcoin season isn't far behind. That's more confirmation we're still in the thick of this bull market. And here's where XRP comes in. I fully believe XRP will challenge ETH in terms of market cap. If the past is any guide, and it usually is, we're going to see XRP close that gap. If XRP matched ETH's current market cap, that would put its price close to $8. That's not some wild moonshot. It's completely feasible based on how this market moves. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what'll happen. I don't. Pretend to know the exact numbers. This isn't financial advice or a price prediction. But I will say I wouldn't be shocked to see XRP push into double digits. It's not far-fetched, especially given how long XRP has been held back. The fundamentals are stronger than ever. This is exactly what you want to see heading into the late stages of a parabolic cycle. Let's look at one more update. This one from Credible Crypto, posted earlier today. It's a Bitcoin chart, and he noted the price action is behaving just the way he anticipated. His outlook? Over the next few days, BTC might climb up to around $120,000, then dip slightly back to about $117,000, before bouncing around a bit, up and down, and eventually pushing even higher. He's not suggesting some drawn-out consolidation phase. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, pullbacks at this point are expected to be quick and relatively shallow. That's what happens as you approach the blow-off top phase. And today's price movement already shows a rebound off the upper range. He was tracking. So, again, right on cue. So this next update came in this afternoon at 2:36 p.m., just under 3 hours ago from the time I'm recording this. The Analysts posted that we're sitting at a key inflection point, a make-or-break level. And if we drop below this zone, he warns, be mentally prepared for a liquidity flush that could drag Bitcoin below $115,000. Now, he also made it clear, even if that happens, it won't invalidate the bigger bullish structure on the higher timeframes. So take a breath. Don't panic. And honestly, I'm really glad he made that point. Keep your cool, people. This is an exciting phase, not one where fear should be sneaking in, even a little. Yeah, pullbacks will happen, but thinking that we're suddenly shifting into a bear market and everything's gonna tank from here, that just doesn't line up with reality. It's possible, sure, anything is, but it's not probable. What's far more likely is that this market has way more room to run, and alts are going to ride that momentum hard. XRP in particular, it's already in price discovery mode. No longer about to enter. We're here. And face-melting price action? It's coming. It's really hard for me to imagine a world where XRP doesn't blow minds before this. Cycle is over. Like, we'll all need new faces after this one. Now take a look at this post from the Bitcoin dominance chart. The dominance just fell off a cliff. Not literally, of course, but it dropped from nearly 66% down to 60.84%. And while that percentage shift may not seem massive, visually and contextually, it's a pretty significant move. Bitcoin dominance had been on a steady climb for years, but now it's clearly pulling back, and that is exactly what you'd expect as we near the climax of a bull cycle. Here's the kicker. Bitcoin's price is still trending upward, but while it's rising, its dominance is dropping. Why? Because altcoins are gaining steam. Blockchain backer mentioned this in his latest video. The total crypto market cap has increased, but BTC has been trading sideways lately. That means new money isn't pouring into Bitcoin. It's going into altcoins. That's not just a rotation of profits. It's fresh capital entering the space. Now, yes, a rotation will happen eventually. People will take profits from Bitcoin and roll it into alts like XRP. But what we're seeing right now is not that yet. This is new liquidity, and it's setting the stage for an even more intense altcoin rally as we move forward. We're approaching the fun part. Not quite there yet, but close. And this follows the same rhythm we've seen in every prior cycle. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but it sure does rhyme. People behave the same way cycle after cycle. We're predictable creatures, honestly. Sure, some of us learn and evolve, but collectively, the retail herd tends to panic buy and panic sell, just like always. So yes, this pattern will keep repeating. Now let's move over to a post from an XRP, and this one's all about XRP. He's talking about the Weekly Relative Strength Index, RSI, one of the key metrics he watches when considering whether it's time to start scaling out. He makes a great point. You can ignore this indicator at your own risk, but he's not. Neither am I. RSI is a powerful tool, especially on the weekly chart, and he's using it as an early warning system to guide his dollar cost average exit strategy. He also says he's going to be more aggressive this time around because he believes we're in the final leg of this bull cycle. I'm on board with that assessment. As we approach the peak, I'll be keeping a close eye on RSI too. Once you hit a value of 70, you're technically entering overbought territory. But here's the exciting part. An asset can stay overbought for weeks or even longer while prices continue to surge. When he posted this, late last night, around 11:47 p.m. Central, XRP was right at an RSI of 70, the starting point for that overbought zone. That might sound concerning to some, but it's actually pretty normal in bull runs. We've seen it before. Look back at the end of 2024 and early 2025. XRP's RSI got up to around 92, which is sky high on a 100-point scale, but it didn't crash immediately. XRP stayed elevated for months. That's not the sign of a peak. That's what parabolic moves look like. We've seen this behavior in previous cycles too. Back in late 2020, XRP's RSI spiked into the 80s, then dipped, then rose again, even while price was under pressure from the SEC lawsuit. And if you go back to 2017, XRP hit a whopping 96 on the RSI scale, moved sideways for half a year, then shot up again. So when XRP says we're in the final leg, he's not saying the fun is over. He's saying we're in the home stretch. But here's the deal. As prices rise, so does risk, especially if you're planning to exit this cycle. If you're trying to lock in profits, the higher RSI climbs, the more cautious you need to be. No one knows where the top is, but the higher it goes, the riskier it gets to keep holding. That's why I'll be scaling out in stages. Trying to sell everything at once and time the top perfectly? That's a trap. That's how people miss out or get caught when exchanges crash from volume overload. It's just not worth the risk. I'll be doing a separate video soon where I break down my exit strategy and share tips to avoid common mistakes because yes, this is exciting, but you don't want to blow it when we're this close. One of the most followed chart analysts in the game to 1.7 million followers just weighed in on XRP. And what's wild is, this guy can't stand XRP. Seriously, he openly dislikes it. But credit where it's due. He's being real. Even back in November, when XRP started ripping, he didn't deny it. He bought in. He acknowledged what was happening on the charts and didn't let bias get in the way. And you know what? I respect that. You may not love XRP, but if you're calling it straight, I'm here for it. Let me share this post from Chart Analyst Dom. Actually, I've got two posts from him, one from yesterday morning and another from earlier today. The first update was focused on XRP's order book. He said that bulls cleared out all the available sell-side liquidity late last week, leaving the order book relatively empty ever since. Compared to last week's heavy sell walls, the path up to $4 is now much clearer. Translation: the major resistance zones we had just days ago? Gone. All those big clusters of sell orders that were sitting right around where we are now, they've been eaten up, vaporized, and there's not much standing in the way between here and $4. So why haven't we exploded upward yet? Simple. Temporary buyer exhaustion. It's not about resistance anymore. It's just a matter of letting demand recharge. And in a market like this, where money is flowing in across the board, that demand historically does come roaring back. Once it kicks in again, XRP is primed to move fast. In Dom's words, aggressive buyers now have a clear runway to $4. Not much passive resistance left. The market flows over the last couple days have been relatively neutral. Bulls are catching their breath, but there's no sign of strong bearish momentum either. Perfect setup. Now, the second post from just a few hours ago today builds on that. He wrote that bulls are actively trying to take advantage of those thin order books. If buying pressure holds, there's nothing significant standing between us and that $4 level. Most of that pressure right now is coming from Upbit, Coinbase, and Kraken. Of course, since that post went up about 7 hours ago, XRP has pulled back a little, mostly because Bitcoin dipped. But again, it's nothing to worry about. These movements are short-term noise. The larger trend is still intact. This is still ready to go. XRP is going to go. It's just a matter of time. Here's another powerful data point. This one from chart analyst Zoom. He posted that XRP has now closed 4 consecutive daily candles above its previous all-time high. Not only that, last night's close marked the highest weekly close in XRP's history. Let that sink in. Not just a new high on the daily, a record-breaking weekly close. That is serious strength. That is conviction in the market. We're not seeing weak moves or fake-outs. This is XRP showing sustained strength over multiple days and on a high time frame close. These are the kind of signals you want to see when an asset is building up pressure before another major move. Here's another update from Mr. Zoom, and it's a bold one. $4 is right around the corner. He made it clear. Yes, he thinks XRP goes way beyond $4 in this cycle. But he's talking about the super short term here. And that's the recurring theme I keep seeing echoed across the board. Even if analysts aren't quoting the exact same price levels, the idea is consistent. A major move in the very near term. We're talking days, maybe even hours. Take 24 hours crypto. For instance, he simply says, $4 XRP loading. And that's the vibe right now. Then we've got XRPunky, who posted this morning that XRP is breaking out soon and targeting $4 to $4.50 in the immediate future. Again, short-term view only, not the cycle top. He's looking much higher long-term. Steph's Crypto threw in his chart with a $4.53 target. And keep in mind, these analysts don't usually agree this consistently. They're not copy-pasting each other. So when you see this kind of alignment among independent chart watchers, it usually means something big is brewing. They're each drawing conclusions from their own analysis, yet arriving at the same short-term target. That kind of consensus? It matters. Next up, Flash. He says XRP on track, aiming for $5 in the near term. Then Block Bull ups it slightly. $5.40 is the next leg up. And again, none of them are calling this a peak. They're pointing out what could happen soon. Ali Martinez also chimed in, projecting $6 for XRP after breaking out of a triangle pattern. Again, short-term target. And finally, a really thoughtful post from Osemka. He floated the idea that maybe XRP finishes its run sooner, or maybe it takes a breather after this next push while other altcoins catch up. Either way, he made a key point: Bitcoin and most altcoins, especially those outside the top 10, haven't had their parabolic moves yet, and that's crucial. Someone replied, pointing out that historically, XRP and Bitcoin have topped relatively close together. Blockchain Backer has covered this pattern a lot, and Osemka agreed, which is why he believes what we've seen so far is just the first impulse. There's still plenty of fuel left for another explosive leg up. Now yes, there are a few voices who think this bull run could stretch into late 2025, or even 2026, but that's a minority opinion. Most analysts I follow, and that includes the ones quoted here, are saying we're approaching the final phase now. Not in theory, not eventually, right now. That doesn't mean the action is over. Far from it. It means the fireworks are about to begin. Time-wise, we're nearing the end of the cycle. The price-wise? The most exciting part is just ahead. So here's my advice. Start practicing your happy dance. No pressure, but you don't want to look like Elaine from Seinfeld when XRP blasts to $6, $7, or higher. You want a well-executed, confident, high-quality happy dance. Get it ready, because you'll need it. You'll also probably need a new face. XRP might just melt your current one off. But hey, no worries. With the kind of profits we're about to see, you'll have more than enough cash to buy yourself a newer, better, more handsome face. That's just smart investing. But seriously, it's happening. You can feel it. And let me just say this, like always, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say or write should ever be considered financial advice. I'm just a crypto enthusiast, sharing my thoughts for fun.